filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hello, sportsmen. We're taking a break from our live audience format to bring you a very important show on some perspectives about our Department of Natural Resources. First of all, Governor Engler will bring us up to speed on the fracas surrounding this recent split. And then we're going to start bridging the gap with the field staff. Gary Bouchelle, 31-year veteran of the Wildlife Division, is going to talk about deer season 1995 and some other important perspectives you should hear. Stay tuned.
Fred Trost Practical Sportsman is brought to you by D.L. Kessler & Sons Construction, specializing in residential development and commercial construction since 1977, and by the financial support of viewers like you.
I've been one of the few outdoor journalists who's really excited about this split in the DNR. And I'm excited because splitting the DNR, creating the Department of Environmental Quality, has left us with a Department of Natural Resources that is exactly like the old Conservation Department, which served sportsmen so well in years past. Let's take a look at this chart from 1922. This represented the Conservation Department to the public. A very simple mission exists for hunters and fishermen, funded primarily from hunting and fishing license fees. The divisions, which people most often identified with the Conservation Department, were Parks, Forestry, Game, Fire, Fish, and the Warden Service. These were the game wardens, now called the conservation officers in the Law Division. Well, this simple department existed for many years until the early 70s when Governor Milliken added a whole slew of environmental responsibilities to what is called the Department of Natural Resources. On the one side, we're still the Parks, Fisheries, Forestry, Wildlife, Forest, Fire, and the Law Division. But over here, this took up about half of the agency, and this is what Governor Engler has split off into its own Department of Environmental Quality. Now, the new DNR is actually these divisions here, which represent the old Conservation Department. And when this split was made, you probably read in the papers all the bureaucratic fur that was flying. I asked Governor Engler the day before yesterday to help clarify this. It's been said in the papers that the DNR is now a rudderless ship. What do you say?
It's not. It's not. It's got a acting director, Mike Moore, a veteran of the agency who came back, is now was a decision on the part of the commission to bring him out of retirement to replace Raleigh Harms after Raleigh served 4 years at the helm. Mike is interim. I don't think it's rudderless. He's already made it very clear. His first staff meeting, first day of the job. We've got a reorganization plan that's been approved by the commission. I will implement that because that's what the commission wants me to do. So that goes forward. At the same time, a search will be underway for a permanent director, a director who I think will be here for a good number of years as well. Whether that'll be an inside person or somebody from the outside, I don't know. That'll be up to the commission. They chose Raleigh Harms. They chose Mike Moore. I've appointed good men and women to the commission, and they're not always going to agree with me. I thought that in the interim spot, they probably should have put Mike Sheshke, who's been the fellow up in the Upper Peninsula, but a talented fellow who'd actually written the reorganization plan. I thought, well, you know, on an interim basis, maybe he should do that. They said they wanted Mike Moore. That's fine, and Mike came in with a great attitude. He's a pro. He'll get it done.
So you're still in charge.
Yeah,
this reorganization is still solid.
Oh, the reorganization's fine. It's in great shape. It's being implemented. There are people who don't like it. There are some people who've had some pretty cozy spots, maybe in the head office. Maybe it's been a while since they've walked in the woods or walked out on around a stream, and now they're going to get a chance to get some real live experience in the field again. That's good. I think people in offices are bad. People in the field are good. And so I want to bring technology to bear. We've got a brand new public safety communications system that our COs will be using. It's going to make the role of a CO easier to communicate with other law enforcement agencies, with other COs. We're bringing technology. It ought to be a lot easier to help write reports. I hate to see anybody working for the Natural Resource Department cooped up in an office typing out reports, especially reports that nobody's going to read maybe, as opposed to being out there working with the public. I don't want to see the public not being able to get an answer because somebody's back in the back typing a report. So we're trying to change that. We're going to give these folks more tools, and they're going to do a better job.
Well, there's no doubt that our governor is not thrown by this recent bureaucratic hassle that's occurred with a split in the DNR. He knows what he wants out of the new Department of Natural Resources. He wants this agency to be responsive to sportsmen who pay the hunting and fishing license fees. He wants more of the DNR employees out in the field working on fish and game programs. And he wants the DNR employees to be communicating with sportsmen and sportsmen's groups. This is exactly what sportsmen have needed for so many years. Now, to get the ball rolling on this communication, I invited Gary Bouchelle down right here on this show. I haven't had a DNR employee talk about fish or game on this show in a long time, but I invited Gary to talk about the upcoming deer season and some of these very important issues about bridging the gap between the DNR and sportsmen's groups. Sportsmen have not had the communication that they felt was really meaningful. But tell me one thing, the DNR's been split. Is that communication era back again?
Well, I hope it's back. I feel very strongly that communication is the key here for a better understanding of our resources, that we can get our message out. And frankly, I'd like to do it in an atmosphere that's not adversarial. And we felt that quite often, that we seem to be the enemy of the people. We don't want that. And again, I personally, from my viewpoint, is that the more we can talk to people, the more we can talk to hunters, meet them one-on-one, face-to-face, talk about these things, have a better understanding, the better off we'll be.
Will sportsmen's clubs be able to have access to the biologists up north and the conservation officers to come to the meetings and do this type of discussion?
Well, I hope so. I think that's the key there, the communication, that we can come out and talk to you, and also that you come and meet with us, too.
Absolutely. And here we are meeting, and we're talking about deer season 1995. Nobody would ever thought we'd talk DNR numbers, but there's something different that you're doing this year with DNR numbers than you've done in the past, at least your opinion from 31 years with the department. And that is, you're not giving out talking concrete numbers. Is that your philosophy?
That might be my own philosophy here, yes. I like to, rather than argue about whether there's 5 deer or 15 or 25 deer per square mile, talk about areas in general, areas that have the best potential, and how to scout that out and to enjoy the hunt.
Okay, let's take a look right here. We're going to get a couple of these maps up here. Well, here we have a relative density map, huh, Gary?
Right.
No numbers on here.
Right.
Why no numbers?
Well, I like it that it shows where the deer densities are heaviest and where they're the lightest, or maybe even non-existent, without even having a quibble about numbers themselves.
Well, let's talk about you. Start in the Upper Peninsula. Sure. We'll go up here. Everybody likes to cross the Mackinac Bridge and up in the UP. So these dark areas are where the heaviest concentrations of deer are?
Yes.
So what happens up here? No deer?
Well, no, there are deer there. What we're looking at is the Lake Superior watershed, where there's fewer deer up there. But if you're a buck hunter that would like to hunt big bucks.
So the big bucks are going to be coming from up there?
You might want to try those areas, yes.
So the smaller deer, but more of them down here?
Yes.
Do you hazard, does it make any difference to you to say how many deer per square mile are there in that black area?
Oh, for right now, I don't think that matters. We have some other issues that we're dealing with down
Okay.
there with agriculture.
Okay, let's move down across the straits here.
Okay.
And we'll talk the northern part of the Lower Peninsula. Heavy area around Alpena. They still have a lot of crop damage there.
Alpena, Presque Isle County, going into
This being the club country?
the club country, yes.
Now, and of course over here by, well, not Traverse, but Emmett. Oh, this, I like this. You know why? Well, no, hold it. We're going to be right up there. Well, that's okay.
Antrim County and parts of Charlevoix County there.
Yeah, okay. Now, then we have a pocket in here. Where is this, Kalkaska? or what?
Kalkaska, that's some of the agricultural lands over there.
With not very many deer?
Very few deer, but in some places very acute problems there, especially on the fringe.
And that's what makes it confusing to the public about the crop damage permits, because even with low deer in a large area, you have high density in some very small areas.
Exactly.
Okay, this is across the Gladwin band?
That's Gladwin, Aranac County, Iosco County, going into Osceola County. And again, it's a mixture of forest lands and agricultural lands, high deer densities.
Now over here in the Thumb produces some big bucks, but it looks like they have quite a few more deer than maybe I would have expected. Has this been increasing lately, or what?
That has been increasing, and that's a good mix of agricultural land and forested land, and some public lands in there too in the state game areas.
Now, down here in the southern part of the state, Jackson County should be right around here. That produced most of the big bucks last year.
Right.
But they're not in the highest density of deer area.
That's right.
Huh. And who suffers here?
This will be Ingham County, Clinton County.
No, that's around where we live and hunt.
I see some big bucks in there, though.
There are big bucks, but not quite as many as next door.
Right.
Where's this, Lenawee County?
Livingston County, mainly Livingston County.
Livingston County, huh? So that's, well, and here, there are some big deer that we do have coming out of Oakland County.
Exactly.
But again, not very many.
Right.
Well, that is if you get back and look at the whole thing, this is you're saying the deer density, the relative densities without putting any numbers on them, and these are pretty darn accurate.
We adjust those every year. This is done by the field staff, and we look at them, and based on our best information, we fine-tune this each year.
And I think sportsmen will pretty much bear that out. Now let's take a look at this. This is a map here that has deer management units from 1994 for the antlerless hunting. And of course up here, a lot of people were concerned up in the northern part of the state and even in the UP, not very many areas with antlerless hunting.
Right.
But a lot in the southern part of the state. And here are your changes for this year, which I had heard rumors there weren't going to be as many antlerless areas, but there are more. Why is that? More deer than last year, or?
Even though the population that level is near our goals, we probably have in some areas through here maybe 10 or 15% higher deer population than we had in '94, based on the conservative seasons of the past. And so what we're trying to do here is fine-tune and adjust by opening some areas up to take a limited amount of antlerless deer.
Okay, now what's the scoop here on Crawford, Roscommon County? This used to be a heartland almost of deer, and there's no antlerless permits in here for a couple years in a row?
And including archery hunting. And in fact, that's gone several years in a row. I think what we have in here, Fred, is a combination of state forest lands, national forest lands, public land with easy access, interstates from the south, interstates from the southeast, all converging on that area. And we have
It puts the most hunting pressure in the state right there.
a lot of pressure there, and we feel that it's an area that we recognized even in the late 60s and early 70s when we went to some of the first bucks-only area, that we had to give protection in those areas.
Now, in the Upper Peninsula, do you expect flack here with all of these increased antlerless deer?
All the reports I have are that deer numbers are at record highs in some areas. And what we're trying to do is to adjust to those high deer population by setting up special deer rigs to target in on deer that are causing problems in the ag areas.
So actually, looking at this map, there are more small deer management areas designed to manipulate regulations in smaller areas to better manage the herd.
Right.
Rather than just a blanket regulation for the whole state.
Target in on the problem areas, but at the same time allow maximum recreational opportunities for the hunters.
In your 31 years, can you rank this? Is this going to be the best deer season ever? Second, third, fourth, or do you want to stay away from those kind of numbers?
Well, no, they're going to be, every season's a good season, Fred, and I really mean it. It's good to be out, and I know we have the deer numbers there, and a lot of hunters are going to be very happy. And you don't have to get a deer to be happy.
That's right.
And enjoy the hunt, whatever.
Has there been too much focus in the past, do you think, on the numbers and the success? Has having this limit of 2 with a bow and 2 with a gun and all that, has that put an expectation that is...
I think expectations, playing on expectations with hunters has been out there, and I don't think it's good. If we talk about this is going to be a great year, they're going to come in with high expectations, and when they don't meet them, then they classify themselves as a failure. And I hate to do that. I think it's going to be a good year. There's plenty of deer. Have a good hunt, whether you get a deer or not. Expect to have a good time.
You and I started the game of deer hunting back when the limit was what?
One
One buck.
right?
And that was it. Did we expect to get one?
I sure didn't.
No, I don't think most people did because the odds were against it.
Right.
But now you have people with a pocket full of tags, and if they don't get 2 or 3, they're disappointed.
High expectations. It's a major societal problem. We're a quick fix society, instant gratification with high expectations. It doesn't fit with hunting.
And what about the big buck business? We didn't used to have the kind of bucks that we have now. Has there been too much emphasis on that or not? Or how do the trophy bucks play into this? I mean, I look at them on TV as more or less just an oddity. They're kind of fun to see.
There's a lot of interest in big bucks. And there's, again, high expectation for wanting big bucks. And again, that's part of the societal mode that we're in dealing with deer hunting.
Do you think that the trophy book that I put on TV and the banquets we have, do you think that that does anything that encourages an attitude that shouldn't be encouraged?
I don't know about that. I couldn't say that, Fred. I think it's interesting to look at that. It's interesting to see that they're out there. But what it does to me personally doesn't mean, boy, I want to get one of those. But to others it might. I don't know across the board if others feel like they're out there, I got to get one too. It's interesting that in this day and age that somebody can go out there and they get what they consider to be a trophy. And I might consider a trophy to be a lot different than somebody that sees a 10-pointer or better.
Well, Mr. 31 years DNR wildlife biologist, trained in wildlife biology, deer expert, what is your biggest buck of your lifetime?
8 points.
In Michigan, 8 points?
8 points.
That's 1 point on me. In fact, right behind there on the wall is my big one I shot with a broken leg. What would you like to get? What would be your ultimate trophy?
As far as points, I have no objective of that at all. In fact, I think a nice doe would be fine too. And I really do. For me, yes.
Do you know what mine is?
What?
A buck with 2 14-inch spikes. Seriously, I've hunted spikes for so long that it's almost like that's the goal, and the longer the spikes.
Sure.
A deer with long spikes, is that a healthy buck? I've heard that it isn't, that they're not supposed to have spikes like that, the long spikes. In fact, I've heard that a buck with spikes is a deer that's a little bit hungry and doesn't have very good genetics. Is that true?
No, not necessarily genetics. I don't think that's true at all. It might be more of a nutritional matter. And often in yearling deer, many of the yearling deer in the North Country are spikes compared to southern lower Michigan, for example. Down here, I've seen 13-point yearlings. And
13-point yearlings. A yearling meaning 1.5 years.
1.5 years old, yes. Mm-hmm.
But so a spike to me that's the deer. That's what I look for. That's what I key in on. I think a bigger one would scare me. Most of the time it does.
Good.
Now, when I was in the blind with my broken leg, I was about traumatized. I held my breath for I don't know how long, but I was out of breath when I had shot. But that was exciting. But like you said, every deer hunt is exciting, even when you just come close. Seeing deer. Okay, let's talk about seeing deer. Used to be in the old days when I first started deer hunting, if I saw a deer that day, that was a bonanza. And now, don't you find that a lot of hunters say, oh, I only saw 12, only saw 8. There aren't many here.
There's no question about it that seeing deer is part of the expectation, and seeing deer can add to the success of a hunt. But those numbers have gone up too as our expectations have gone up.
But seeing deer is fun. Baiting increases the chance that hunters are going to see deer, mainly small deer, right?
Right.
I mean, you live up in baiting country, carrot, rutabagas, all of that. What is your personal feeling about baiting?
This is the truth, Fred. I don't have any problem with how people take animals. Baiting has never been a problem for me, and that's my personal feeling. To bait or not to bait is your personal choice.
What are the problems that, I mean, we had this big baiting fracas over people in their territories.
Yes.
Now, what have you seen? I mean, you live up there, Roscommon County, the highest deer hunting concentration of deer hunters in the state. They're sometimes, well, we say they're shoulder to shoulder and all that. Well, it's not quite that. But they do feel, many of them, that they're too close together. They have little disputes. This is my field. This is my blind. This is my area.
And that's a fact. I've witnessed that. And it's a growing problem, I would say. It's staking out a turf area, their territory, is a fact of life.
Now, how do you feel about that? What should be, I mean, you know, my feeling is that there are people who, up in the more sparsely populated areas in the UP, this 10 acres is mine. And at least down here where there's higher concentrations, now it's this field is mine. People seem to throw up their barricades in a geographic area, sort of what it'll allow. Do you see a solution to this? I mean, is it something we're going to have to educate hunters on just getting along in high concentrations, or should the number of hunters be limited? Is this ever going to happen, or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a societal type of issue, whether education is going to handle it or not. It's a fact of life, and I wished it wasn't there. And it's growing.
And right now you don't see a solution.
I don't see a solution.
In the past 31 years, I keep going to this because you're one of the few people we can talk to who's seen the DNR, from the Conservation Department to the DNR and now the new DNR. You've seen hunters' attitudes, you've seen the deer populations change and all that. What do you see for the next few years in terms of hunters' attitudes and the attitudes of DNR employees? Are we going to finally be getting together?
That's my fondest wish, that we could do that. You know, we're getting 3 and 4 generations removed from the land, and we need more youngsters hunting. We need to recruit more younger people hunting. And I think as they get into the hunting fraternity, to grow up knowing that a wildlife biologist is the bad guy is not healthy.
Why? Yeah, I mean, you have discussions over coffee all the time with other DNR employees. In fact, right here, people in the field who you see wearing this hat, DNR wildlife, that in the past few years, I think because of the environmental influence a lot, this has sort of become, oh, there's a target. There's that DNR guy. I don't think sportsmen anymore in this state ought to look at a hat like that and look at this patch and the people who are wearing them as the enemy. Because the ones left in the DNR who are in our hunting and fishing agency now, they are good people. I mean, I can say this, and I know you'll agree, right?
Fred, we have some of the most dedicated individuals in the wildlife program that you could ever want. And we're your friends. We're not the enemy.
So how are we going to bridge that gap? How are we, I mean, I say a gap because it does exist, does it not? I mean, hasn't over the years, there's just been a lot of, just a big chasm up there, a split in public faith, and I think it's partly a fallout in public faith in government.
Exactly, it's a spin-off on that, and we're just another government employee, another bureaucrat that's causing problems to the regulatory process, preventing me from doing what I think I ought to be able to do. And when we deal with outdoor recreation, dealing with the wildlife resources, everybody kind of would like to look at themselves as being an expert. And so then you have us there, the regulators that prohibit this or prohibit that or whatever. Then we become the bad guys. And we shouldn't be. I think, again, I have to go back to communicating. Why do we do this? What are we trying to do? We're not trying to harass the hunter. We're trying to do something. We have a different objective. What is that? And I don't think we get that message out as to what we're trying to do. This has to be done.
Do you find that DNR wildlife biologists tend not to wear their hat in the coffee shop or something because of the attention it draws? Has this happened in the past few years or not?
No, I don't think so. In fact, if I were to wear my hat at a gathering, more than likely I'll draw people in towards me to talk to me. I'd be recognized. I know, for example, a group of elk hunters at an orientation. If I go in without any identification, even though I might be a DNR employee, they know it, they don't tend to come to me. But if I put my hat on or my shirt or my jacket on, immediately they'll gravitate to you.
To grill you or to say, how you doing? What is their attitude?
You know, really, on a one-on-one, you have very few problems. I think the bigger problems that I've had personally is when you get into the masses. a hearing, for example, on dealing with block permits or shooting permits.
To fish and game, give them the thumbs up sign. This fall, when you're out hunting or fishing or whatever, you see a conservation officer or somebody wearing the patch or getting out of a car with a Department of Natural Resources insignia, hey, give them the thumbs up sign to let them know that you're with them. As a sportsman, you support the new DNR. Now, we also have coming out on Monday bumper stickers with the message this fall is it's time to rekindle the good attitudes between the DNR and sportsmen. So give that symbol thumbs up to the new DNR. Next week, Tuesday, October 24th, 7 p.m., we'll be taping with a live audience in Mount Pleasant. If you'd like to join us, we'll be at Craypool Ford. The subject of the show will be the pheasant opener. On October 31st, we'll be talking about duck hunting to sportsmen in Muskegon at the Reith Spuffer High School Auditorium.